Lovely job. Right. Welcome to the Planning Committee at Lowestoft Town Council. There were no fire alarm tests planned for today, and so should the fire alarm sound, it will be for real. In the event of a fire, please follow the instructions that will be given and congregate on the grass verge to the side of the Quick Fit building. The fire exits are the main stairwell to the reception area and a separate flight of stairs in the kitchen. Reporting at meetings. In the interest of openness and transparency, councillors and members of the public are reminded that the law permits any person to film, record, photograph or use social media in order to report on the proceedings of a meeting of the council or its committees when they are open to the public. The town council will record this meeting. Filming and photography will only be permitted from the area designated. No flash photography or additional lighting should be used without prior consent. Anyone wishing to report on the meeting should notify the clerk or chair so that they can be afforded reasonable facilities. People under the age of 18 or other members of the public not wishing to be filmed or photographed should notify the clerk or chair and should sit in the area designated for this purpose. Improper conduct or any disruptive behaviour could result in expulsion from the meeting. Can you also ensure that your mobile phones are changed to silent or switched off and adhere to the no smoking policy for this building and the grounds of Hamilton House? We have with us tonight councillors Bernie Rappensberger, Elise Youngman, John Murray, Wendy Brooks, myself, Jen Jones, and Taylor Williams, Committee Clerk and Planning Assistant. 14. To receive and consider approval of apologies for absence.
Yes, Chair, apologies received from councillors Colby and Newsom with reasons provided.
Can I have a proposal to accept Bernie and a second, Elise, and a vote? That's everyone. 15. Declarations of interest and dispensations. 15.1. To receive declarations of disclosable pecuniary, other registrable and non-registrable interest from councillors on items on the agenda. Anyone? No. 15.2. To consider written requests for dispensations for interest and note dispensations granted. None
received, Chair.
Thank you. 16. To consider the draft minutes of the meeting on the 22nd of May. Everyone had a chance to read? I assume they're ready. Bernie, proposal accepts. Seconder, Elise, and a vote? That's 4. Wendy, are you abstaining or? Okay, thank you. 17. Public forum. An opportunity for the public to make comments on any matters on this agenda and to consider any advance comments from the public.
No advance comments received, Chair, and no one's in attendance on the webinar.
Thank you. 18. To consider a request from councillors Brooks, Pearce and Ray to join the Neighbourhood Development Plan Subcommittee. Elise.
I propose to let them.
And second, Bernie, and a vote. That's everyone. Right. Planning applications. 19.1. To consider the following planning applications and decide the recommendations of the council. 1 777 88 Cowsop Crescent, front porch extension. Wendy.
Please we approve.
Bernie, and a vote. That's everyone. 1663 14 Corton Road, replace tarmac on driveway with Bradstone Road and rumpled concrete block paving in graphite. Wendy.
Please we approve.
Which one? I think Elise just got them there first.
Second.
And a vote. So everyone. Your little ping up then threw me off. 1768 Benjamin Brett Music Academy. The retention of 2 existing prefabricated modular classroom units. Wendy. Bernie. And a vote. Thank you. Well, if we can get through the rest of these like this, it's going to be a quick meeting. 1823 11 North Parade, installation of a new heritage style door with electronic access control preserving existing stained glass fan light. Wendy,
Again, sorry. Again, I propose we approve it.
Elise, and a vote. That's everyone. Please shout out if anyone has any comments, by the way. 1893 Gunton Garage, 265 to 271 Yarmouth Road. Wendy.
Right, I'm going to break the mould here.
There had to be one time.
Yeah, this is it. This is problematic because of the comments from Highways
Okay.
and the comments from the neighbours.
Mhm.
I do feel for the neighbours sitting in their gardens having non-stop kind of water jets spraying, having to listen to that all day long. Plus they're on the Yarmouth, you know, they're very close to the Yarmouth Road. So, I mean, given there's so much detail in terms of the sound, which quite honestly, I'm not capable of interpreting actually what that actually means, you know, in terms of this decibel, that decibel. I think we have to take it that it is intrusive on those neighbours to have that all day long. I also don't see the need there for a fast food outlet.
Hasn't that come off this application? Or
This
is it
has
still
come up
included?
before. This is, they've put in, it was refused, it's come back. And I've looked through the reason it was refused, I can't see they've actually modified it really at all, because the refusal was to do with sound and to do with it being on the A47.
Mhm.
I think we send it, we just say I think in terms of what National Highways have said, and there's lots of things they're asking them to do, that no decision can be made. They've said to delay it until August, by which time it would have given the applicants time to do all the things they asked. So then I think it has to come back to us, because if that's all agreed, and I can't see how they're going to do it, but if that's all, they can do all the stuff that's being demanded of Highways, is basically about coming in, turning and space and all the rest of it. But I also have reservations about the noise, and do we need another fast food outlet on that stretch of road?
Okay, thank you. Elise.
But I think the fast food bit is actually gone. It's just turning into a shop.
Mm.
The actual garage is already there, so all the noise and that is already happening. They also have a hand car wash and jet wash already there on the site now, and they're literally putting it in the same spot it is. So I know they're complaining about the noise and stuff, but personally think it's more like for like. But I do agree with Wendy that we should send it back and see what
Okay.
happens.
So do you want to make that proposal? Can you what about holding objection until?
I think there's so many details that National Highways are asking them to do. And also I think there's some confusion over, in the application, they say it's one flat, don't they? But when you actually read the application, it talks about staff accommodation. So it sounds different to actually what it is, but definitely, I don't think we say everything's okay if they comply with everything from National Highways. I think they've still got a few more.
Okay.
John had his hand before we did.
Okay.
There's probably other points to put in.
Your pen is often missed.
It was just similar points to Elise, really, in that there is already most of the stuff there. What they say is they'll knock down the bungalow, which already looks as if it's on the set for a war film. So they're going to knock that down, and on top of the building they're going to rebuild, they're going to put accommodation, which would presumably replace because that bungalow is being used by the people who work there. So I think it has the potential to significantly tidy up the area and improve it, notwithstanding that the authority does have the road thing. So I think we could be, I would like to be positive about it with a holding thing, subject to the objections and concerns that have been raised about the road in particular being addressed. But because, as Elise says, because the places functioning already. The water the car wash, hand car wash is already in operation, so that's happening. It's already a petrol station. You know, it's not as if they're creating something in a new area. So my view is that I would support a holding objection or a holding process until and unless the points by the highways are dealt with. But other than that, I don't have a big problem with it.
Okay, thank you. Bernie?
Yeah, I think the neighbours' concerns about noise are, yes, there is something there at the moment, but they're worried about what time it's going to go on to. There seems to be a mini mark going in there, and again, is that going to have people on and off the site? What time is that going to close? So I think the neighbours' concerns do at least need to be taken into account. The other thing is Anglian Water have raised some issues as well, so it looks as if there needs to be some work done between the applicant and Anglian Water in regard to trade effluent as well.
Okay.
So I don't know if Wendy can make a proposal around all of that.
Yeah.
Well, I think a holding objection until they've complied with highways doesn't take into account the things I've raised and Bernie's raised as well. So I think that we say, bearing in mind highways, question marks over water, Anglian Water, will they approve it, all the rest of it. The bungalow they're going to demolish isn't actually, nobody lives in it at the moment, it's empty. So they're not the one there's an unused property there. So it isn't actually occupied at the moment. Demolishing the shop, they will then put accommodation on the top of the shop, is my understanding. And yes, it could look nicer. It could. Not against them kind of doing something that improves the area, but there seems to be I see no harm in it coming back to us once highways if they address all of highways' concerns. I see no harm in it coming back to us so we can address the other things if necessary. And I think there is something a bit vague about how long this, because it's going to be an automatic washer, isn't it? It's not just going to be the hand washing, it's actually going to be the 24 hours. So that's going to be more noisy. So, there's kind of little bits and pieces in there. And they are right that the Tesco's one is away from a residential area and this one isn't. It's very close to a residential area.
So can you encapsulate that into a proposal that Taylor can?
Well, although we're not opposed to the application, we have a number of questions we'd like clarified. First of all, that they need to address National Highways issues about access and water supply. And they also need to address the noise complaints more effectively. I'm not sure they've actually addressed them. And also I'd like to know exactly how many people are going to be living on it. What's the proposal for the number of people living on this site? So we need more detail in terms of what it'll look like.
Okay.
But basically, if the things are addressed and we get the answers, I'm not saying like, this is terrible, it should go away, but actually just to have those questions answered. And if National Highways answer those questions, if they actually comply with what National Highways is saying, come back to us and then, it probably won't be a problem. Is that possible to incorporate that?
Yes,
Yeah.
That's essentially a type of holding objection that we'd submit. The caveats being, once highways is addressed, it can then come back here. But within the response, I can say these are the concerns that the committee themselves has raised as well. Yeah, I've got that.
Yeah.
John?
Yeah, I forgot to mention that point about the water. I think it's an important but potentially a positive item, because at the moment, I suspect that the runoff from the car wash is pretty much runoff from the car wash and it doesn't get treated very carefully or properly. Whereas, I suspect it might be that, whereas if it's done in compliance with Anglian Water and modern requirements, then then it's likely that the runoff water, the effluent from it, will be treated better, and it will be better for the environment than what we've got at the moment. So, subject to compliance with that, I think it's probably going to improve the environment from that aspect.
Okay, Wendy.
Except there's a point in there where National Highways say they don't, Anglian Water are their client. They are the they've just spent millions doing that road and sorting out the flooding and what have you. So they've got something in there about third party agreements. So although in theory, yes, if they can get Anglian Water, but they have to get National Highways to agree as well, from the way I read it. But National Highways have to agree that they can come into their system. Because they would be a third party to it.
I doubt they could refuse, actually, because otherwise they say, okay, we'll just dump it in the back garden then.
Anyway,
So is that all right with you, John? So we're not just saying, basically, if we just put a holding objection, then National Highways, they comply with National Highways, and that's it, it's improved. None of the other things have to be addressed, which I think they need to be. So that's my proposal.
okay. Is there a Bernie? Okay. And a vote, please. Is everyone? Right. 1282 41 London Road North, change of use from vacant first, second, third floors to 3 self-contained apartments, new metal staircase from rear yard and new metal railings on the first floor flat roof. I was waiting for the fastest hand first. Oh, Bernie.
Totally.
Oh,
Approval. They're self-contained.
is this 1282? I've lost the wretched agenda.
Yes, it is.
Is it the one where they say they're going to put artificial grass down?
No, this is one.
There's a
Got
little
the mic off. You've got
Hang
the mic on. One of you needs.
Right, so there is 3 empty floors there. And
Yeah.
they are proposing floors 1, 2 and 3 to be turned into 3 self-contained flats. They have recognised the flood risk the area is in. But they also point out that the flats are above that anyway. Sorry?
No problem. They ain't going to get flooded.
No, and there are flats in that area anyway.
Okay, Elise.
I'll second Bernie's proposal.
Okay, any other comments? Wendy?
Yes, I stick with my comment. They've said that in terms of having some biodiversity, they will put artificial grass down. I think we should urge them not
Yes.
to. Out the back.
I hadn't picked that up. Actually, is it? Well, I missed that bit.
I think I can't remember which.
It's actually artificial and there's nothing in the application.
No,
form.
it isn't. There's 3 flats and behind it's a car park or something, isn't there? So there is no garden there whatsoever.
There's no garden there, but they do say in order to improve the biodiversity of the area, we'll put down some planters and some artificial grass. Now, at the back.
There is no back.
But they say they're going to do it. I'm just saying that we shouldn't be approving the artificial grass, and actually concrete or tarmac would be better.
On search of artificial and application form, there's no.
Have you mixed up the applications?
I
at all?
found it. I don't make these things up, you know.
I think I've seen it on
Bernie.
myself, but
Right, if there is, I would recommend approval. But if there is any mention of artificial grass, we don't recognise that as any kind of aid or benefit to biodiversity.
That's fine.
Is that
Okay.
okay?
Is there a seconder or any other comments?
That's my only comment.
Okay, John, were you making a comment or?
No, I'm ready to agree with
Okay.
moving on to the next.
Okay, a vote then, please. That's everyone. Okay. 1670 61 to 63 London Road North. Installation of palisade fence into the rear of the branch. Oh, who was first? Go on, John.
Wendy, your mic's on.
Sorry. Yeah.
Wendy, can you turn your mic off, please? Thank you.
Recognising the objections from Shoe Zone and Greg, the manager of Greg's, who both say, hang on a minute, we've got dibs on that land as well, and that it ain't yours to fence off. I think whoever needs to go to the land registry and check should go to the land registry and check, but until then it shouldn't be approved.
Okay, thank you. Bernie?
Yeah, that was the point I was going to make, because the managers of both of those shops are saying that they have rights of access over that land.
Okay, are you seconded?
I'll second it.
There's a proposal to recommend refusal then until land registry has been verified.
Okay, so we've got a proposal, got a seconder, and a vote. Is everyone? It's my bounce. 1954. 315 Watload Road, demolition of existing modern industrial unit, including rebuilding the front. Bernie?
Right, I had a look at this one because it seemed to have struck a chord with me, and it came up before us previously. And by the looks of this, if I'm reading this correctly, it looks as if what they want to do is, yes, they want to do some work on the warehouses at the back, but at the front of the building, or the entrance to the site on either side, there are some historic, they're not listed, but there are some historic beach village previous industrial buildings. So when it came up before us in, I think it was 2023, both Lowestoft Town Council, and because they wanted to demolish them to make the entrance wider, so both Lowestoft Town Council and East Suffolk Council recommended refusal of the demolition of those buildings on historic, because of their historic significance as part of the landscape there. David Butcher also submitted his comments against them, and we had, I think it was Suffolk Preservation Society also objected to the demolition of those buildings. Now, looking at the one today, it looks as if they are going back to try and get those two buildings taken out with the intention, they say, to rebuild them rather than preserve them because of their condition.
Okay, thank you. It's like the portal's not quite working with us tonight. Wendy, then John.
Yeah, I think Bernie's absolutely right. I mean, I can't, the server seems to have gone down, so I couldn't upload this one. But and I didn't look at it beforehand, but I think you're absolutely right, Bernie. This one did come to us, and there were significant objections to it from both David Butcher and others, because it's yeah. So I think do you propose we refuse?
I will do. I think
Yeah.
Elise wants to say something. If I can just answer Wendy's point. Sorry, if I can
Go on.
just answer Wendy's point. I had a look at all this afternoon, and I didn't just look at the existing application that's in front of today. I went back to the previous ones, which is how I got the information.
Right, John, then Elise.
Okay, thank you. Back to one of my favourite subjects, the flooding. They're up to date because they say that the flood barrier isn't complete, but then it talks about the flooding being, I think, up to about 0.4 of a metre on the gate, on the gate, and later on it references the fact that 0.5 of a metre is marginal. If it's above 0.5, it's likely to be substantial material damage. Now, I know they're on the right side of that, but and I know it's one in a period of time flood risk, but with the state of climate change, I'd be concerned to put all my eggs in the basket of it. It's not going to happen for 2,000 years. And therefore, if the flooding happened and their gate was in place and it was slightly above that, then it risks doing material damage to the building. So I think for again, because of the flooding risk and the damage that flooding could do, I think other mitigating measures should be taken, perhaps like having a flood barrier. So I'd be against it.
Okay, Lace.
I've got another point. When it comes to the flooding, all of that Watlow Road has no defences anyway, so whatever you put there is going to have the same risk. The other thing is, when I was looking at the plans, is the old fisherman cottage attached to one of those buildings?
Yes, that's why.
That is why, because I was trying to figure out where it was, because we went and had a look around, and I'm sure that was attached, and I think, how well are they going to pull that building down without damaging that?
It's not, sorry,
Because it's not integral, they're not,
They're
I think that they're not actually joined, they are up against each other. And
that little
that's right.
one down there, isn't it? She just moved it. That building there,
Yeah.
yeah. She got the red line.
They do-
It looks like they're attached.
yeah, they do say that the works to that larger building wouldn't affect it. But as I say, my main concern, and the concern that we have come up with previously, and East Suffolk, were those two buildings at the front,
Yeah.
which is what they want to demolish. So I think we should refuse it on those grounds, as we have done previously.
Okay, thank you. Wendy.
Yeah, I mean, we have refused it before because of the heritage impact it would have. The flooding isn't actually a major issue down there because we've still got the sea wall, and also it's not residential, but that is, yes, I think if Bernie's, as nobody else has seconded, I'll second Bernie's proposal to refuse.
Okay, any other comments? No, we'll take a vote then. Is that everyone in favour? Yep. Thank you. Two 2029 87 Alton Road, single story rear extension and dropped curb extension to Alton Road. Wendy.
Propose we approve.
Elise. A vote? So everyone. 2036 3 St Peter Street, change of use from CAF, approved in 1998-0446 to Class 1 for a local archive and provision of alarm box to front elevation. Wendy.
I mean, I propose we approve it, but I'm a bit surprised that they had to go for planning application because there hasn't been a cafe there for, I don't know when the cafe was. I mean, there was a tanning studio that didn't have change of use. And I think it's a shame. This is a community outfit without a lot of money that they've had to go pay for planning for change of use. So although I propose we approve it, I think we should highlight to planning that this is really, is this really appropriate to be charging a small group planning fees?
Okay, thank you. Bernie?
Yeah, I agree, because as Wendy says, there hasn't been a cafe there for years. That was the last, I think, official change of use in 1998. There was then a tanning salon in there. It's been empty for a couple of years. The local group have decided they can make use of it, and they've unfortunately had to pick up the process of planning for change of use. The other thing as well is, I will mention, they want to put obviously an alarm on the front there, but the alarm they want to put on is similar to the one that the neighbours have got, because it's a conservation area, so they'd need planning for that. But yeah, did you approve? Because I'm happy to second.
Okay, any other comments? No, then a vote, please. That's everyone. Okay, 2148 Stanley Street, retrospective application for citing an in-post parcel locker. Wendy.
Well, when I first saw this, I thought, we've seen this before and refused it because of the issues that are raised in the comments, which is about you know, being able to see and being on a corner and all the rest of it. So it's not really a retrospective application because I believe this one was turned down. So it's come back to us posing as a retrospective application, whereas in fact I think they're putting it in again, and I propose we refuse it again because it's in the wrong place and it's going to block visibility on the road.
Is there any history for this that you can see? Bernie?
Yeah, I can't say I remember it from before, but definitely the comments are about the fact it's where it's sited. There's not good visibility if someone's coming around the corner. There's double yellow lines, so there's the issue of people parking on double yellow lines, or someone has said actually on the pavement at times as well. So if Wendy's proposing to turn it down, I'm happy to second, but before we do that, I think John had his hand up as well.
You've said it.
They do seem to be popping up here, there and everywhere now again, these things.
Maybe it's somewhere near there, maybe the last one was.
Anyway, so proposal, seconder, and a vote then, please. So everyone, thank you. Right. Well, this is a long one. 1391 132A Pakeford Street. The property has an existing single story to the rear and is proposed to simply add a further story over this footprint to create an upstairs bedroom for family use. The property is somewhat unusual in that it is classed as semi-detached, but in fact there is no party wall, and this property 132A and the neighbouring property 134 are separated by a small, say 4-inch air gap. Is that 4 inch or 4 foot? 4 inch air gap. The materials proposed for the upper story extension will entirely match the materials of the existing building and external. I never can say this word. Is it facade?
Facade.
Hey, I got it right. Sorry. Brownie point for me. Will be identical to existing structure. Wendy.
I think Bernie was before me. Well, I propose we approve.
Fabulous.
That's it.
Any other comments? No? And a vote? Is everyone?
It's taking ages getting it up.
Yeah.
We've approved it before she even gets up the screen.
Should we just go with it? If we need to see it, we'll get you
No,
to
no.
it. Ah. Okay. 1450 224 Kirkley Run, single story rear extension. John. And a vote? Is everyone? Right. 1805 Lord Kitchener's Garden, Kirkley Cliff. Proposed sighting of a statue of the composer Benjamin Britten as a boy on land at Lord Kitchener's Garden, plus associated minor works. Wendy.
Well, when this first appeared a few weeks ago in the journal, that it was going to be placed in Lord Kitchener's garden, first I thought, where on earth is Lord Kitchener's garden? And it turns out that it's in front of Lord Kitchener's, but actually the land was sold a long time ago to Waveney District Council, so nobody knows it by that name. But also, Lord Kitchener, which is in the comments, Benjamin Britten was a pacifist. And there is something a little insensitive about sticking him there, especially as originally the idea was that he went in the car park, which was literally in front of his house. So I don't know why the change has been agreed. And the person who's raised it on the comments is not the only person who's raised it and said, you know, is this the best place for him? So, I mean, I'm not against it being somewhere, but I'm not sure that's the best place.
Okay, thank you. Bernie.
Yeah, it was originally supposed to go the car park. So he'd be looking out at sea with his back to the family house where he was born and spent some early years. I haven't got a clue why it's been moved. obviously East Suffolk own the car park, seafront. So whether it's something to do with not taking up space there, but it's got to go somewhere. And if it can't go on the seafront, I think where I've had a look at the plan, and it looks as if they're going to put him at the front of Kitchener's, so the seaward side, and with the original idea, which was to have him looking out at sea. I'm happy to. I mean, you can ask if there's anywhere else to put him. I don't know. It would have to go on east. The only other place could be for even further down the seafront, which would be even further away from his home, which would really detract,
Yeah.
I think, from the meaning behind the statue. But otherwise, I'm happy to propose that we accept the recommendation.
Okay, Elise.
Just thinking, are they doing garden works in that bit, adding plants and bedding? They're doing a lot of that down the seafront, aren't they?
They're doing all that end. I don't think.
I just didn't know if that's why they were putting the
They're not.
statue there, because they're planning to do some garden works there.
No,
But they're not. I'm not too sure how far up it goes.
doesn't go
It
up
doesn't.
because it's quite near the thatch, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I'll second Barney's proposal anyway.
Okay, thank you.
Well, yes, I'm not against it, but I think maybe we should raise the fact that it is not called Lord Kitchener's Garden, especially as it was given to the Borough Council, where presumably it's nobody knows it as if I just thought it was a bit of grass, you know, that was owned by East Suffolk. It's the fact that they're calling it Lord Kitchener's Garden. If they hadn't done that, it wouldn't have been an issue. And in fact, it isn't Lord Kitchener's Garden because Lord Kitchener's house sold it to the Borough Council, so they need to rename it. They could call it Britain's Garden. They could rename it. And then that you've got all the controversy out of the way.
Okay. Bernie.
Years ago, there wasn't even a garden there. It used to be a small crazy golf course. So I'm not sure how it's been changing hands so much, but the garden itself is quite nice. So if that's where he's got to go, that's where he's got to go. And yeah, I think it'd be quite nice to call it. We could start calling it Britain's Garden.
Yes. Would you be willing to include that in your proposal, that it is no longer referred to as Lord Kitchener's Garden because of the sensitivities around
I
it?
don't know how Kitcheners would feel about that.
Well, they don't own it.
And put a suggestion in the new name.
Put it,
Huh?
yeah,
Put
put
your
it,
suggestion in as well for the new name.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
I'll give that to you, Taylor. I'll find a way of wording that.
I'd rather call it Benjamin's Garden than Britain's
Yeah.
Garden.
Okay.
Benjamin's.
Okay, so we've got a proposal. Had a seconder. Can we have a vote to approve? That's everyone. Okay, 1828 Seafast Pakefield Road. Replace existing windows. Elise.
Propose to accept.
John? Second? Any other comments? Wendy?
This is, of
I was
course,
wait-
just
Give
a
it
note.
away.
Just a note, the absolute failure of a new build to put the right windows in the first place.
Okay, and a vote. That's everyone. Okay, 1847 14 Laxfield Way, erection of oak frame conservatory onto rear west elevation of existing double garage, convert existing double garage into dining room with fireplace / chimney, extend kitchen / utility room into existing garage, kitchen / utility room roof height to remain same as existing height of utility room. That sounds like a lot of work and a mouthful. John? Can you put my comfy, please? Thank you.
It is, as you say, a lot of work. I looked at the pictures and I thought, wow. But if that's what they want to do, I can't see anything terrible with it. But so I'd oppose approval.
Okay, thank you. Elise?
I'm going to second it because it actually sounds quite impressive. Yeah.
Any other comments? No? And a vote then, please. Everyone? 1967, 71 Kirkley Park Road, single story rear extension. Bernie.
I recommend that we approve.
Okay. Seconder. John. Any other comments? And a vote, please. That's everyone. 2061. Go on, John.
Can I just make a comment on some of these? Some of these, which are actually very similar to other ones, some people, there's tremendous work's gone into preparing it, and other people put it on the back of a fag packet, and yet the result's pretty much the same.
Yeah.
And it's odd. But
Okay. Right. 2061. 213 Stradbroke Road, single story rear extension with porch extension. Bernie.
Recommend we approve.
Seconder. John. Any other comments? And a vote? So everyone. 2062. 102 Paintfield Street, single story rear extension, new front porch and internal alterations to existing dwelling. Elise.
I propose,
To approve?
yeah, to approve.
Any other comments? No, and a vote. That's everyone. Elise, are you okay?
No, I've got a cut inside my nose and every now and then it hurts. So I was trying to approve and it was just like, oh.
Oh dear. I'm not going to ask how you did it. 2091. 28 Dell Road East to brick up garage door, extend garage to the right hand side and convert garage into games room / dining room. John. Is that proposed approval? Bernie? Any other comments? And a vote. It's everyone. Right. 2381. I feel like you have something to say on this.
Yeah, I just think committee aware representatives for after public discretion committee of
Wendy.
I'm not against listening to them, but I'm also very conscious that the consultation on the Kirkley front, which includes this, is just, I think it's just finished, but I don't think the results have been published in terms of, which includes the Jedwen site. It seems to me a bit, yeah, I'm just wondering how it's going to fit into the consultation.
Do we give them a chance so that we can find out what they've got to say? Is there an opportunity to ask them questions or is it just listening?
You can do the customary 3 minutes and ask questions if you'd like to.
Okay. Everyone happy? Give them the floor.
Oh, sorry, is that passed over to me now? I can only hear when the microphones are on.
Here we go.
I'm afraid.
Okay.
Right. Floor's yours. Over to you.
Okay. Can I clarify how long I have? Because I haven't.
You have 3 minutes.
3 minutes. Okay. Well, to clarify the first question, we've recently submitted updated proposals at the site. So East Suffolk Council are undertaking a re-consultation exercise, which is still currently open. So there is still the opportunity to comment on the revised proposals. So secondly, then, I think I did have a presentation, but I'll cut to the chase on it. So we submitted our application in June 2024 for the redevelopment of the former Jedwen factory site. we spent a year working with and listening to the statutory consultees and East Suffolk Council, and I think we've resubmitted a much improved scheme for consideration. And just to highlight the key changes for you then, just to make sure there's no misinterpretation. The key parameters that we're now proposing are up to 500 homes. That remains as per the original description. The new introduction of 0.26 hectares of land for a 30-place early years setting. That's expandable to 60 places. So that's a new inclusion into the scheme in response to comments from the County Council infrastructure team. A locally equipped area of play, that's a new inclusion as well. And that sort of combined, we are now at 2.12 hectares of strategic green infrastructure, which is a significant improvement in green space across the site. Previously, we had 0.7 hectares, so we're more than double improved in that respect. The offset to that is that the employment provision has reduced, so we're at 2.2 hectares, not the 3.2 as originally proposed. Building heights across the site remain as per the original application scheme, so up to 4 stories for residential, up to 15 metres to ridge height for the employment. Access arrangements remain the same as before, with the inclusion of an uncontrolled pedestrian crossing now on Waveney Drive and other off-site highways improvements. That's in discussion with Suffolk County Council to address connectivity and safe walking and cycling routes to schools and local facilities for residents and children. Site levels are to be raised to address flood risk at the site. We have, as part of the process, appointed the Environment Agency's consultants, JBA Consulting, to independently look at the site. And through their sort of further modelling and incorporating that into the scheme, the conclusions are that the risk from tidal flooding will be low. So that's a big tick for us in that respect. And the housing mix remains reserved for future consideration, given it's an outline application. I think they are the key changes to make you aware of in that respect. So I shall pause there, use my time and stop and welcome any questions if you have any.
Thank you. John.
Thank you. I made a mistake earlier on one of the other ones. It wasn't another plan that recognised the incomplete flood defences of the town. It was yours. And you have therefore said that the land would be raised. My recollection of the previous application was that there was either a statement in it or people considered that one of the reasons that you were struggling with it was the cost of then raising the land sufficiently to get above the flood level. So it seems, I mean, it's a fairly major prospect to raise land above anticipated flood levels. You said the flood risk is low. The flood risk is not low. It's various studies say it's severe and there could be catastrophic consequences. Clearly, if you build the land up high enough, you would be sitting on an island surrounded by the flood waters. But I think it's I'd be concerned to understand how the difference that you've found the money, the prospective money, to increase the height of the land sufficiently to make the whole area risk-free from flooding, when before it was seen as a major impediment doing that. Thank you.
Feel free to answer that.
Okay, thank you. Well, the first response is I can't comment on commercial sort of sensitivities around that side of things. I'm a planner, not the client in this respect, but I understand the point. The site is very, very challenging from a viability perspective. So you're absolutely correct to raise the upfront costs that would be associated with this scheme. And it's important for councillors to note that the East Suffolk Council's viability consultants, BNP Paribas, I believe they are, agree that the site yields a deficit against the viability benchmark. So it is a very, very challenging site to bring forwards. And what we've tried to do is bring forward a site which delivers all of the key objectives in terms of its residential, commercial, strategic open space and early years provision to ensure that we deliver a high quality and sustainable site that Lowestoft can be proud of. The point about land raising and flood risk, to clarify, the point is that subject to the land raising, the site is at low risk. So that's the future scenario. So provided the site is raised and it's proposed to raise the more vulnerable uses, so the residential and the early years provision, the employment zone at the harbour front would remain at its existing level. I think that hopefully helps answer that question.
Thank you. Wendy?
Just very briefly, I don't want to shoot the messenger, which is you. It's a really ill thought out scheme. And as the Cabinet Member for Housing, East Suffolk, says, there's no affordable housing, which is not surprising given the cost it's going to be to build anything there. We're being asked to approve something, and I personally don't think we can at this stage, especially as we're still in the consultation period, and see where that lands us. But I don't think it's viable. 500 houses on a high flood risk area on contaminated land. I think somebody needs to go back to the drawing board on this one.
Would you like to answer that one?
Only in so far as viability is, I'll repeat, viability is very challenging at the site. There will be a review mechanism included within the Section 106 agreement if it's approved, which if viability improves over time, then there's opportunities for contributions to other infrastructure if the finances allow at that point. So this application is for an outline. We're seeking to determine the principle of development only, and all the detail will effectively be further down the line on this one.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other questions from anyone? No? Well, thank you very much for talking to us. We'll now consider this application and take a vote. Do we have a proposal? Wendy?
Well, I propose we refuse because of the flood risk, cost, the no affordable housing. So at this stage, we can't. I mean, obviously, it'd be really nice to see that land developed, but this is not the way to be doing it. I don't think. I think the idea you get 500 houses down there. Who would want to live there in a flood risk with no barrier?
John?
Yeah, I'd agree. And on an earlier one, Wendy said, oh, well, it's only industrial land, so the flooding is less important. And that point is one of the things that he made there, was that they would raise the residential area up, but industrial areas would be at the current level. I think it's problematic to say, let's build a new industrial area in a known flood risk area without without effective mitigation. I mean, if I was building a factory to make widgets or whatever, and then someone said, "Ah, yeah, but that one's subject to flooding," I'd look somewhere else. And that's the problem that Lowestoft has got. We need a proper flood defence to make things like that viable. Then they wouldn't have to raise the whole lot up, irrespective of the other issues. So unfortunately, while agreeing it would be good to have development, I think under the existing circumstances, I wouldn't support it.
So you seconding Wendy?
Yeah.
Is there any other comments, Elise, or you?
No, I was just trying to work it out, right? So say they raise the land. So all that water that won't be going over that land would be going round it and flooding everything around it instead? Am I right?
That's what I'm getting.
It's got to go somewhere. So all them other houses on Waverley Drive would end up getting flooded, but these ones will be okay? I was just trying to work it out in my brain, but I am right, aren't I?
Who knows?
But water has to go somewhere.
Benny.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, we've all got concerns about this. Like, you know, people in the area have got concerns about this. We got halfway through a flood defence scheme and ran out of money for the barrier, which apparently was the most important part. This, I just something to clarify with Taylor, really. So this is an outline planning application. So at this stage, they are just seeking permission to put a mix of, well, it's demolition and construction and employment land, and it's just to get the go ahead for that idea in principle, is it?
As I understand it, and I will, it's also covered under the Waveney Local Plan 2.4, Kirkley Waterfront Sustainable Urban Neighbourhood Development. It's in the local plan that this site will be developed. Quite, you know, a few hundred houses will be located on the Lowestoft area of the Geldwen site, so it's all accommodated for within the local plan. So it is designated for this type of development.
Okay, thank you. Wendy.
Yeah, it did.
Wendy.
I think the problem with giving outline planning permission is that it stops anybody else coming in with a different plan. That I think down there you could potentially turn it into some kind of wildlife on one side. You know, have nice walks through. You can have a wildlife corridor, but actually building houses down there is, I think, just impractical. But if we give it to these people, that means that land will just sit there.
So,
I think part of that land, the bottom half of it, I think that there is part of this is to retain that wildlife area, because I think some of it is also, part of it is also in, is it Suffolk County Council's wildlife? Because they're doing a consultation at the moment, aren't they, about, is it county wildlife site? Something like that, but I'm sure that because there are one or two areas in Kirkley that are in it, and I think part of that site is, which would hopefully give it some protection, but you just never know. This is the issue, isn't it?
you want to wait for Taylor to?
No, I'm just doing some.
Okay. Is everyone happy to take a vote on that? Then we've got a proposal and a second. Okay.
Due to flood risk, the cost that it won't provide affordable housing, and that ideally developments like this would be more viable if there was a flood defence in place.
Okay. Right. So a vote. That's everyone. Okay. Thank you. 19.2 applications for tree works. The Planning Authority has received the following applications for trees subject to a tree preservation order and or proposed works to trees within a conservation area, and comment as appropriate. I'm not reading all the words out. 2044 21 Gunton Church Lane. Any comments? No. 1896 6 Holbein. Any comments? No. And 2090 29 The Avenue. Any comments? No. 19.3 applications for window repair / replacement. The Planning Authority has received the following applications for repair / replacement windows within a conservation area, and this will be assessed in line with East Suffolk Council's Historic Environment Supplementary Planning document. So these are just noted, isn't it? Yeah, so 1878 44 Kirkley Park Road, replacement PVCU windows to front of property, and 1874 Flat 1 Kirkley House, Kirkley Cliff Road, replacement windows. 20 to discuss the communications received from Jess Sato MP and East Suffolk Council planning in relation to the Crown Hotel. Over to you, Taylor. Oh no, Wendy, go on.
Right, I attended the meeting about the Crown Hotel at a local cafe. Jess Sato was there, and so were East Suffolk Council, and they made various promises in a public meeting. The heritage officer had actually been into the building but couldn't give us any details about, because of confidentiality, she couldn't actually give us any details about the state of the interior. But Jess Sato did promise us that she was going to write immediately to the building owner and point out that because it's a listed building, he had obligations on him, and that if he was failing in those obligations, it was a criminal offence. The last thing I saw that Taylor circulated was that he had come back to her and said, oh, I'm putting in a planning application. Now, and she said to him, well, he said, I'm going to do it within the month. Well, that month has well passed. And I spoke to one of the officers, East Suffolk Council officers the other day, who said as far as they were concerned, they hadn't seen anything from him. So my point is that we need to now press the MP, because obviously saying I'm going to put in a planning is a stalling. It's a stalling. He's just stalling. So I think we need to actually go back to the MP and say, look, he hasn't met this deadline. Can you now please press again on what you promised to do?
Okay, thank you. Bernie.
Yeah, I'll totally agree. But equally, East Suffolk Council, I'm sure they must have a historic buildings officer. But what are they doing about it as well? Because I'm not sure that
they're
Jess...
exploring. Right, what's worrying about the letter we got was that sorry, can I just jump in? I just jumped in there. What was worrying about the letter we got, which seemed to be diluted somewhat from the meeting, which was that obviously it could be taken, they could compulsory purchase. This would be expensive, it was said, right? We could make it an asset of community value, right? Which would, if Lowestoft Town Council made it an asset of community value, that would basically imply that we'd be lumbered with a listed building that we'd have to buy and then do all the work on, which we don't want to do. What we want is for East Suffolk to actually follow up that he's behaving what he's doing is a criminal act, and we want them to enforce action. That's what we want. But I think they're trying to backslide. Yeah, because I've asked twice now, the planning officers, can you tell me what's happening? Has he applied? No answer at all, nothing. So I think we will have to press them on it to get some action.
Okay, before I bring John in, Taylor, have you had any update directly from?
No.
Okay. John.
Thank you. I've got a hint of something that Bernie was saying, which had struck me previously, and if I've got it wrong from Bernie, I apologise. But the papers we've seen on the previous occasions about this, clearly the current owner of the place is not doing what he said he would do, what he promised to do, what he should do. The responsible body for dealing with that is the council, the responsible council, and I've got nothing against involving the MP in it, but actually I don't see that the MP's got a lot to do with it in a way. She might be able to write the odd letter here or there, but the real power comes from East Suffolk Council doing what it's supposed to do,
Yeah.
and it hasn't done it yet. I think that's where the pressure should be.
Yeah.
And tell them to get their digit out
Yeah.
and crack on, as my latest phrase is tonight.
Wendy.
Well, I agree with both Bernie and John, and I think we should ask Taylor to draft a strong letter to the environmental. I think is it environmental protection that this comes under. There's certainly the heritage officer comes under it because she was there. And is it called environmental protection? I always get the or enforcement. It might be enforcement.
I'm sure.
Ben Mornow was there. Elizabeth somebody or other was there. The historic person, you know, the conservation officer was there. So I think that we send a very, very strong letter to those people. They're copied in, but also we can copy Jess Sasato in, yeah. But you are right, you know, the people who need to be doing it we need to give them a shove, definitely. Because they have kind of watered down what they agreed to do.
Okay. So is that proposal to give delegation for Taylor or Sarah to draft a strong email?
Yeah.
Okay. Bernie.
I'll second that.
Okay. A vote? That's everyone?
Disappointed, I think is the word.
Okay. So 21, date of next meeting is Thursday, the 26th of June, 1845. 22 items for the next agenda to obviously be sent in good time. Oh, sorry, John.
Just give my apologies for the next meeting. I will be in somewhere warm then.
Apologies noted. Right. Thank you very much, everyone. That's the end of the meeting.